What is up, people? Breaking news today on this Saturday, September 23rd, 2017. We have a lot of news actually to cover today in the realm of sports and ironically enough also with politics. I mean, both are just mixing here over the last 24 hours and they will continue to mix for the next 24 hours as tomorrow night, it's Sunday football. It's football Sunday and there's going to be a lot of chaos surrounding tomorrow's day given some of the comments and words that Donald Trump has chosen to say within the last 24 hours. There was last night him spewing off at Colin Kaepernick and these other NFL players who choose to protest and kneel whenever the national anthem happens before a game. And, he had some choiceful words there for those players and athletes, and also him basically blocking Stephen Curry from going to the White House and visiting because he believes that when you hesitate, you shouldn't be allowed, and it's created a lot of chaos and controversy. We're going to get into all of that, but the biggest news coming out just now is the fact that New York has finally parted ways with Carmelo Anthony, as New York has agreed to a deal to send Carmelo Anthony to the OKC Thunder for Enes Kanter and McDermott and a draft pick. Now, this is coming from sources of ESPN. So the Knicks have officially traded Carmelo Anthony to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And one upside I think the Knicks get out of this is obviously a draft pick here. We were desperate for a draft pick, but also we get to build around Kristaps Porzingis now, who is much younger and a proven player, seems to be getting better every year and maturing every year. It's the right move in my opinion. Also, our defense is due for an upgrade this upcoming season. I think our defense now is going to be scary good with these assets in Kanter and Doug here. I think these are good signs for the Knicks, some huge positives. And the overall league right now in the NBA is a lot better. This upcoming season is going to be fire. It's going to be lit because for the first time in a long time, in a couple of years, almost every team now is competing, and the Cavs in the Eastern Conference have competition, against the Boston Celtics, right? Because the Celtics are looking pretty good now with Kyrie Irving and all of those players they've welcomed in this offseason. But now also the Thunder on the west side of things for the Golden State Warriors are going to be very competitive for the Golden State Warriors to be going up against. So this league just became a whole lot more interesting. It's a lot more fun now. It's competitive, and it's good. The NBA needed this. We needed to get out of this predictability factor where the same two teams are going to the finals every year. That was boring. The playoffs this past season were absolutely atrocious and abysmal. How easy it was for both the Cavs and the Warriors to sweep their way through making the finals. It was absolutely absurd what unfolded in the NBA this past season. And we can only hope we don't see that again. But so far it looks like that's not going to be happening because, with the Warriors having competition now, in the Rockets, who are also a great team, let's not forget about the Rockets, but also the Thunder in here making a rise and them building another great team after Kevin Durant has left. And by the way, is Kevin Durant now thinking about going back to the Thunder now that that's a super team again? I mean, holy shit. Kevin Durant, that's another story in itself with this whole Twitter thing that happened with him this past week. Not just that, but now he has to worry about Russell Westbrook having star players around him once again, and that possibly fueling and motivating Russell Westbrook to just completely kill and destroy the Golden State Warriors, and especially destroying Kevin Durant. Durant has a lot of things on his mind right now, and I don't think this season is going to be good to him. I really don't. I think he's going to be made a target. Fans are going to go after him. The players are definitely going to go after him. He's basically living in the LeBron James era, in which LeBron James lived that era with the Miami Heat from 2010 to 2014. This is the new LeBron James here, except, Kevin Durant is the second best basketball player in the world and not the first. But regardless of that, I still respect Kevin Durant. But it's going to be interesting to see how they come at him, with this Thunder team. And again, the NBA is just on fire right now. It's great to see this happening. It's great to see the league competitive. Those are my thoughts on that. So, yeah, the Knicks, it's not like they're they're on the bad side of things. It's not the end of the world for them. We lost Carmelo Anthony, but I think that's a blessing in disguise for us because now we can add more pieces to our team. We can develop a team, rebuild, and our defense is going to be great, in my opinion. So that's what I think about that. As far as everything that's happening with this whole Donald Trump taking on sports athletes situation is concerned, all I can say is this. I heard Donald Trump's speech in Alabama, wherever he was, basically talking about how if you kneel, it is disrespectful to this country and to this great nation for many people to fight and serve for this country, for your freedom and for your privileges to be in this country as a citizen and living in this country. I can understand where Donald Trump is coming from with that. We can all attest to that. We can all understand where he's coming from. And I completely agree with him. I think it's, quite frankly, very disrespectful and insulting and a bad taste in many people's mouths what Colin Kaepernick started last season. And keep in mind, he started this way before Election Day last year, way before even Donald Trump was in office and became the actual president of the United States. Colin Kaepernick went about this way before that. He did this in August. In the preseason of last year, you already saw Colin Kaepernick kneeling, and he went on this movement. And Barack Obama was still a president at that time. And you had two candidates running for president in this country. I can understand why many people would see that as disrespectful because he disregarded everything going on at that time and only thought about himself. That's just my take, though. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's how I see things. And it is quite disrespectful. As far as, his comments about, keeping those sons of bitches off the field, I think that was a little bit too much. Especially also advocating for owners to fire their star players because of those protests and kneeling during the national anthem. I think that was also taken out of context by Donald Trump. He didn't need to go to those extremes by expressing his opinion, but he did get his point across, and I think that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to send a strong message, make sure everyone heard it loud and clear, which is why he went on full blast mode to Colin Kaepernick and these other NFL star players who are doing this. So I think he did succeed in having his message go across to the entire world, as we all saw this morning how Twitter has just absolutely exploded with those words from Donald Trump. But then you also have Donald Trump basically blocking or withdrawing Steph Curry from entering the White House because Stephen Curry was hesitant. And Donald Trump believes it is a privilege and it should be an honor to come to the White House if you're a championship team. Again, I can also understand some of his frustration here because you had previous teams already not go to the White House, like the New England Patriots and the Golden State Warriors, who have yet to visit Donald Trump in the White House. So I can understand why he's frustrated. He's here probably welcoming these guys, wanting to meet with them, wanting to chat up with them, and being very curious to actually have a conversation with them and sit down and see what kind of disagreements they have with each other and just have a talk and just meet, right? That's the whole point of getting to know each other. So maybe that's his frustration, and I can understand why he's frustrated about that. So we got to think about it from both sides of the field here. We can't just completely blind ourselves to one side because you have a man here who is willing to actually let these players enter the White House and chat with him. But if they're refusing, he's going to take it personal and feel offended by that. And I can understand some of that logic. I can understand some of his points from that end, But again, yeah, his comments were definitely unnecessary. However, I still agree with him about everything else. If you're in this country and you're doing well with yourself and you have a decent life, a decent job, you're making enough money, that should be enough. And to provide a lot for your family, that should be enough. Many countries, you see them suffering. You see how it is, how bad it is in other places. You should be thankful and feel blessed for what you've accomplished out of living in this country. You should really, really be thankful about that. And I don't think anyone should have any reason to believe that they should protest this country, especially if you're rich and you have the millions of dollars that you do, such as Colin Kaepernick and all these other NFL players in this case. These guys are rich. They're millionaires. They're on TV every single week. They do media appearances. They're famous. They're stars, they're superstars. What is there to really complain about here. I just don't understand the logic. And also, like, what has he done to you to feel that way, But again, those are just my opinions. We all have them. And keep in mind that if you're an average citizen in this country, if you're a middle-income citizen in this country, such as myself, you wouldn't be allowed to get away with those kind of things if you did it at your job. If you were to protest at your job and show your political stance at your job, you'd be fired and kicked out immediately. So just think about that for a second. And then for someone at a much higher level to be doing that and getting away with it, it's just not fair. If other people can't do it, but they can, and they don't really have a reason to, whereas somebody like me or somebody that's listening to me right now actually would have a reason, or more of a reason on their plate to go against everything in this country. So that's just what I think, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, the whole day for Sunday football. Every game is going to be broadcasted, obviously, and some games are going to be prime time. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's an increase in the amount of players that choose to kneel and protest and take a political stance tomorrow. And here's another thing: like, I don't want this league to become political now, and that not only goes for the NFL, but that goes for NBA, MLB, or what have you. Like, why are we doing this now? Why is every sport becoming about politics, and we're mixing so much political nonsense into sports? What happened to the good old days of getting away from all of that, sitting back on your couch, watching with your family, watching for fun, and enjoying the game for what it is? Like, really, I want to be able to enjoy that this whole season for the NFL. But now with this nonsense going on, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. And the ratings have been declining ever since last year. Way before this Trump thing, before Trump was in office, the ratings have been going down, And I think that's part of it because of this political stance that they've taken. I don't know whether Trump's comments will actually motivate the NFL ratings to go up and motivate fans to tune in tomorrow and going forward every week to see if these players react to Trump and protest even harder against him, and maybe that will get the ratings to go back up. Who knows? But I definitely will say this. If the ratings go up, you have Donald Trump to thank for that. That's all I got to say. Till next time.